idea you actually were part of that, yeah.
Okay, and I hesitate to ask this question, but we kind of ask it of every World War II veteran. And how did you feel about the atomic bombing at the end of the war and kind of that wrap up to the war? And maybe a better question is, how do you kind of feel about the current American foreign policy? And just tell us how you feel about America in general, John Chapman, please. Thanks.
Well, when the word came up that they had an atomic bomb, I think that was a good thing, because if they hadn't done that, we would have lost thousands and thousands of men, because they were prepared to fight to the end. And I think by dropping those two bombs, they decided that it was just too much for them. They lost so many people, and those bombs, they were so scared of them, they decided to sign the peace treaty. And when they signed it, the West Virginia was right alongside of the Missouri, and the Japanese were so could not believe that that ship could survive and be there during that time, because they done so much damage to her. She had more damage than any of the battleships down there, but she came back and went to the Philippines, and she went right in there and sunk those battleships right in the battle in the Philippines there. So that was I was so pleased that they done that.
You know, John, again interrupting, but weren't you a Vietnam era Navy guy too? Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, how do you feel about the Vietnam War? I was a kid in the Vietnam War. I was so proud of the way the guys went over there and took care of business. And in my mind, the Vietnam War won the Cold War because the Russians and the Chinese communists realized that we were superior militarily. There was no point in them at a build-up, and eventually, of course, they pretty much just collapsed militarily.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about the Vietnam War at the time, and how do you feel about it now, Mr. Chapman? Thanks.
Well,
Thanks, John.
at that time, I really had no idea that the Vietnam were a problem with us, but I was on the landing ship dock 19, and we shining dock all these small ships, power boats. We could drop the ship into deep in the water, and we could take 25 of those Marines boats in there, and we took them right over to Vietnam, and they were standing by for call to back those small boats that were in the harbor there.
Right.
Anyway, we left them all there. They didn't go in, but they tied them up outside there to be ready to go in the Marines to back those small boats up. And we came back out of there, and then when I was on the aircraft carrier, the Ranger, we had a call. We were coming from Japan, and we were going back to the States at the time, and they asked us to come in there and support them. So our bombers and planes land. We were about 12 miles off of out sea there, and we launched our planes, and they dropped their bombs wherever they wanted to go. We were there for about a week, and they did the damage that was done, and so we went from there. We went back to the States, because we came back, and we were coming back for repairs, and those are the only two times I was near Japan. but I still think we made our water from the ocean, from the seas, made fresh water, and I think most of us come down with something that's why I think I have this cancer. But since I wasn't myself physically on the land of Vietnam, I was in the water, and so far they have never claimed that we could be benefited by it. But some of us all came down with cancer, and it's still being pended whether we could get any compensation like the men that were on there, because most of them came down with prostate cancer and other types of cancer. But I feel like I know I had a small little bonsai tree that I bought in Japan, and I was bringing it back, and I had to keep the tree watered, and I was using water from the ship, but we were making water from the sea, and that plant died by the time I got to San Francisco, because I took good care of it, but I couldn't understand why it died. I think it was because of the water that we made from the sea. And
yeah. So when you have those clusters, they need to investigate it. Wow, John. By the way, how are you feeling now?
Well, I'm still being treated, and I was treated 2 weeks ago. But every time they give me a treatment, the next couple of days I feel really weak and like I want to sleep. It takes, they usually give me four treatments at a time, and it seems to really set me back. I notice when I do my set-ups and my push-ups that I get tired 2 or 3 days after they treat me, and then after that I could it doesn't bother me. But the first couple of days after the treatment, I think they do something. They put it in your system, and it just affects your whole body.
Oh, that sounds really rough. You are the toughest bird I know. You're the toughest old guy, and so don't let them get you down there with that medicine. Oh my. By the way, tell us again how old you are, how long you've been married, the name of your wife, and what your current exercise routine is today.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
I'm 93 right now, and my birthday is 11/7/22. That's the year I was born in. What else?
And your wife's name?
Oh, my wife's name is Betty Julia Chapman. We've been married for 67 years. We were just, the 20th of January, that was 67 years that we've been married. And she's having a little problem right now with her back. She had back surgery and really hasn't recovered from that. So I have to stay close by her, and it's weakened her quite a bit. So the last 2 meetings going to the Pearl Harbor, I had to miss it because she wasn't well, and I didn't dare leave and have she fall down. She can't get back up unless I call my nephew across the street to come over and help me pick her up, or have to call the ambulance, and then they take her to the hospital. That's quite an expense to, I think they cost about $200 to take her to the hospital on an ambulance, and then they put her in there to find out if she's okay, to give her x-ray, see if she's broken any bones or anything falling down. They just go, I guess that's proper procedure they go through.
toughest part about this is, weren't you guys big dancers, or were you guys into dancing? Does that sound
Yeah, we used to be round dancers and square dancers, but
right?
we can't do that anymore. I don't. I have a Disney spell, and I'm afraid I would fall down.
Well, oh my.
Yeah, he didn't talk about what he does in Yuma.
Yeah, we want to hear a little bit about your adventures in Yuma. What got you started going down there? Were you guys like RVers, or do you just have an apartment down there? Tell us about Yuma.
Oh, well, when I retired from the, I used to work at the Children's Hospital, and I retired from there, and Betty said, let's do a little traveling. So we went down to Mexico, and way down by the, we bought a piece of property down there, and we put up a little shed down there where we could put our motorhome alongside of it, and we would stay down there for about 3 months, and then we'd come back. We did that for a couple of years, and found out that it was quite expensive to maintain a property down there, and to go back down there. Most of the people that went down there felt the same way, and they sold their property back to the other people wanted to come and try it. So we stopped going down there, and we started going down to Yuma, Arizona, and the sun was really nice, and it never did get really cold during the wintertime. So we bought a piece of property down there, and we built a park model, and put it in there, and so we've had that for I guess about 10 years now, and we usually go down between January and come back by spring of April. But this year Betty's been very sick, so just a trip down there is quite a feat for her to drive down there. And so we haven't gone down. This is the first year we haven't gone down there. So
That's what I say too, John. It's not too far to the California border, but then you still got a ways to go. It's a long drive. What you guys do when you were in Yuma, though, in years past?
well,
What was the activities that would draw you to Yuma?
well, that's what we did. We danced 5 days a week.
Wow.
2 hours every day that we danced, and so we had met a lot of people. A lot of Canadians came down there because it's much nicer down there than up in Canada, but they can only stay, I think, 4 months, and they've got to get back to Canada. So it gets kind of lonesome down there, because I think 50% of the people living down there in this property that we bought have to be out of there in 4 months and back to Canada. They're not allowed to stay. I think they have 120 days they can be out of Canada, and otherwise they lose their medical facilities if they don't come back.
Well, that's
Brutal.
that sounds wonderful. Now, I think the best thing about this whole trip that I've heard about, and this whole adventure in Yuma, is that you get to spend so much time with your wife doing this dancing and everything. You guys must be crazy in love. You guys have some kind of crazy romantic thing going on? What's going on with you here and Betty that you would do all this dancing? I mean, it sounds very romantic to me, to